इवोल्यूशन का एनसीईआरटी है। इसमें टॉपिक्स है ऑरिजिन्स ऑफ लाइफ, इवोल्यूशन ऑफ द लाइफ फॉर्म्स और थ्योरी, what are the evidences for the evolution, what is the adaptive radiation, biological evolution, mechanism of the evolution, Hardy-Weinberg principle, a brief account of the evolution और origin and the evolution of the man। तो एनसीईआरटी कह रहा है कि evolutionary biology is the study of the history of the life forms on the earth. What exactly is evolution? To understand the changes in the flora and the fauna that had occurred over millions of years on the earth, we must have an understanding of the context of the origin of the life, that means evolution of the earth, of stars, and indeed of the universe itself. What follow is the longest of all the construed and conjectured stories. This is the story of the origin of the life and evolution of the life forms or the biodiversity on the planet Earth in the context of the evolution of the Earth and against the background of the evolution of the universe itself। फिर कहता है origin of the life, तो कहता है कि when we look at the stars on a clear night sky, we are in a way looking back in the time. Stellar distances are measured in the light years, but we see today an object which imitates light started its journey millions of years back and from trillions of kilometers away and reaching our eyes now. However, when we see objects in our immediate surrounding, we see them instantly and hence in the present time. Therefore, when we see stars, we apparently are peeping into the past. The origin of the life is considered a unique event in the history of the universe. The universe is vast, relatively speaking, the earth itself is almost only a speck. The universe is very old, almost 20 billion years old. Huge clusters of galaxies comprise the universe. Galaxies contain the stars and clouds of the gas and the dust. Considering the size of the universe, Earth is indeed a speck. The Big Bang theory attempts to explain to us the origin of the universe. It talks of the single huge explosion, unimaginable in the physical terms. The universe expanded and hence the temperature came down. Hydrogen and the helium formed sometimes later. The gases condensed under the gravitation and formed the galaxies of the present-day universe. In the solar system of the Milky Way galaxy, Earth was supposed to have been formed about 4.5 billion years back. There was no atmosphere on the early Earth. Water vapor, methane, carbon dioxide, and ammonia released from the molten mass covered the surface. The UV rays from the sun broke water into the hydrogen and oxygen, and the lighter H2 escaped. Oxygen combined with the ammonia and methane to form the water, CO2 and other. The ozone layer was formed. As it cooled, the water vapor fell as the rain to fill all the depression and form ocean. Life appeared 500 million years after the formation of the earth, that meant almost 4 billion years back। फिर कहता है where did life come from the outer space? Some scientists believe that it came from the outside. Early Greek thinkers thought unit of life called the spores were transferred to the different planet inside Earth. Panspermia is still a favorite idea for some astronomers. For a long time, it was also believed that life came out of the decaying and the rotting matter like the straw, mud, etc. Despite the theory of the spontaneous generation, Louis Pasteur, by careful experimentation, demonstrated that life comes only from the pre-existing life. He showed that in the pre-Australide flask, life did not come back from the killed east, where in the another flask open to the air, new living organism arose from the killed east. A spontaneous generation theory was dismissed once and for all. However, this did not answer how the first life form came on the earth. Operin of the Russia and Halden of England proposed that the first form of the life could have come from the pre-existing non-living organic molecule like the RNA, protein, etc., and that the formation of a life was preceded by the chemical evolution. That means the formation of the diverse organic molecule from the inorganic constituents. The conditions on the earth were highly temperature, volcanic storms, reducing atmosphere containing CH4, NH3, etc. In the 1953, F.L. Miller, an American scientist, created similar conditions in the laboratory scale. He created electric discharge in a closed flask containing the CH4, H2, NH3 and water vapor at 8 degrees Celsius. He observed the formation of the amino acid in the similar experiment. Other observed formation of the sugar, nitrogen bases, pigments and the fats. Analysis of the meteorite content also revealed similar compound, indicating that the similar processes are occurring elsewhere in the space. With this limited evidence, the first part of the conjectured story, that means the chemical evolution, was more or less accepted. We have no idea about how the first self-replicating metabolic capsule of the life arose. The first non-cellular form of the life could have originated 3 billion years back. They would have been giant molecules, RNA, protein. Uh, polysaccharide, etc. These capsules produce these molecular shapes. Perhaps the first cellular form of the life did not possibly originate till about 2000 million years back. They were probably single cell. All life forms were in the water environment only. This version of the biogenesis that when the first form of the life arose slowly through the evolutionary force from the non-living molecule is accepted by the majority. However, once formed how the first cellular forms of the life could have evolved into the complex biodiversity of today is a fascinating story that we will discuss it below. तो यहाँ पर दिया हुआ है ये डायग्रामेटिक रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ द मिलर एक्सपेरिमेंट दिया हुआ है जिसमें हो गया ये वैक्यूम पंप और CH4 NH3 H2 और H2 है गैसेज इलेक्ट्रोड्स हो गया स्पार्क डिस्चार्ज है वाटर आउट कंडेंसर हो गया वाटर इन कर रहा है वाटर ड्रॉपलेट्स हो गया वाटर कंटेनिंग ऑर्गेनिक कंपाउंड्स इधर लिक्विड वाटर इन द ट्रैप है इधर है बॉइलिंग वाटर फिर आता है इवोल्यूशन ऑफ द लाइफ फॉर्म्स अ थ्योरी तो कहता है कि conventional religious literature tells us about the theory of the special creation. This theory has three connotations. One that all living organisms, species, or types that we see today were created as such. Two, that the diversity was always the same since creation and will be the same in the future also. Three, that the earth is about 4,000 years old. All these ideas were strongly challenged during the 19th century based on the observation made during a few voyages in a ship called HMS Beagle around the world. Charles Darwin concluded that the existing life forms share similarity to the varying degree not only among themselves but also with the life forms that existed millions of years ago. Many such life forms do not exist anymore. There had been extinction of the different life forms in the years gone by just as new life forms of the life arose at different periods of the history of the earth. There has been gradual evolution of the life forms. Any population has built-in variation in the characteristic. Those characteristics which enable some to survive better in the natural conditions, जैसे climate, food, physical factor, etc., would outbreed others that are less endowed with the to survive under such natural conditions. Another word used is fitness of the individual or the population. The fitness, according to the Darwin, refers ultimately and only to the reproductive fitness. Hence, those who are better fit in an environment live more progeny than the other. These therefore will survive more and hence are selected by the nature. He called it the natural selection and implied it as a mechanism of the evolution. Let us also remember that Alfred Ballard, a naturalist who worked in the Malay archipelago, and some come to similar conclusion around the same time. In due course of time, apparently new type of the organism are recognizable. All existing life forms share similarity and share common ancestor. However, these ancestors were present at different periods in the history of the earth, epochs, periods, and eras. The geological history of the earth closely correlates with the biological history of the earth. A common premiseful conclusion is that the earth is very old, not thousands of years as by thought earlier, but billions of years old. फिर कहता है बात है द एविडेंसेज फॉर द एवोल्यूशन तो कहता है evidence that evolution of life forms has indeed taken place on the earth has come from the many quarters. Fossils are the remains of the hard parts of the life forms found in the rock. Rock form the sediments and the cross section of the earth crust indicate the arrangement of the sediment one over the other. During the long history of the earth, different age rock sediments contain the fossil of the different life forms who probably died during the formation of the particular sediment. Some of them appear similar to the modern organism. They represent extinct organisms, जैसे dinosaur. A study of the fossil in the different sedimentary layer indicate the geological period in which they existed. The study showed that the life forms varied over time, and certain life forms are restricted to the certain geological time of spans. Hence, new forms of life have arisen at different times in the history of the earth. All this is called the paleontological evidence. Do you remember how the ages of the fossils are calculated? Do you recollect the method of the radioactive dating and the principle behind the procedure? फिर कहता है एम्ब्रोलॉजिकल सपोर्ट फॉर द इवोल्यूशन तो कहता है एम्ब्रोलॉजिकल सपोर्ट फॉर द इवोल्यूशन बाय आल्सो प्रपोर्ड बाय द आर्नेफ्टिकल बेस्ड अपॉन द ऑब्जर्वेशन ऑफ द सर्टेन फीचर ड्यूरिंग द एम्ब्रियोनिक स्टेज कॉमन टू ऑल द vertebrates that are present in the adult. For example, the embryos of all the vertebrates including human develop a row of the vestigial gill slit just behind the head, but it is a functional organ only in the fish and not found in any other adult vertebrates. However, this proposal was disapproved on careful study performed by the Carl Ernst von Baer. He noted that embryos never pass through the adult stage of the other animals. फिर आता है the comparative anatomy and the morphology show the similarity and the differences among the organisms of the today and those that existed the years ago. Such similarities can be interpreted to understand whether common ancestors were shared or not. For example, whales, bats, cheetah, and the human, all mammals shared similarity in the pattern of the bones of the forelimbs. Though these forelimbs perform different functions in these animals, they have similar anatomical structure. All of them have the humerus, radius, ulna, carpus, metacarpus, and the phalanges in their forelimbs. Hence, in these animals, the same structure developed along different direction due to the adaptation to the different needs. This is divergent evolution, and these structures are homologous. Homology indicate common ancestry. Other examples are the vertebrate heart or the brain. In plant also the thorn and the tendrils of the bougainvillea and cucurbita represents the homology. Homology is based on the divergent evolution, whereas analogy refers to the situation exactly opposite. Wings of the butterfly and of the birds look alike. They are not anatomically similar structure, though they perform the similar function. Hence, analogous structure are a result of the convergent evolution, different structure evolving from the same function and hence having the similarity. Other examples of the analogy are the eye of the octopus and of the mammals, of the flippers of the penguins and the dolphins. One can say that it is the similar habit that has resulted in the selection of the similar adaptive feature in the different group of the organism but toward the same function. Sweet potato root modification and the potato stem modification is another analogy example of the analogy. फिर कहता है कि in the same line of the argument, similarities in the proteins and the genes performing a given function among diverse organisms give clue to the common ancestry. These biochemical similarities point to the same shared ancestry as the structural similarity among the diverse organisms. Man has bred selected plants and animals for the agriculture, horticulture, sport, or the security. Man has domesticated many wild animals and the crop. This intensive breeding program has created breeds that differ from the other breeds, just as dogs, but still are some of same group. It is argued that it's within the hundred of the years man could create new breeds. Could not nature have done the same over millions of years? Another interesting observation supporting evolution by the natural selection comes from England. In a collection of the moths made in the 1850s, that means before industrialization set in, it was observed that there were more white-winged moths on the tree than the dark-winged or the melanite moth. However, in the collection carried out from the same area, but after the industrialization, that means in the 1920s, there were more dark-winged moths in the same area. That means the proportion was reversed. तो यहाँ पर दिया हुआ एग्जांपल ऑफ द होमोलॉगस ऑर्गन इन द प्लांट्स एंड द एनिमल्स में। तो ये हो गया यहाँ पर बोगनविलिया है और ये कुकुरबिटा है, टेंड्रिल हो गया और बोगनविलिया में थॉर्न हो गया जो कि हो गया होमोलॉगस। अब यहाँ पर ये सब भी होमोलॉगस है जो लिम्स दिए हुए हैं। फिर दिखाए हुए है द फैमिली ट्री ऑफ द डायनासोर एंड द लिविंग मॉडर्न द काउंटर पार्ट ऑर्गेनिजम्स लाइक द क्रोकोडाइल्स एंड द बर्ड्स। तो ये हो गया इसमें। तो ब्रैंकियोफोरस से बना है ट्रायनोफोरस और आर्कोपेट्रिक से सीधे बर्ड्स बन गया है। उसी तरह से फिर क्रोकोडेलियन से बना है टेरानोडॉन और स्टिगोफोरस से बना है ट्राइसेराटॉप्स, 3 सिंग वाला। तो ये दिया हुआ है फैमिली ट्री। उसके बाद फिर आता है कि the explanation put forth for this observation by that predators will sport a moth against a contrasting background. During the post-industrialization period, the tree trunks became dark due to the industrial smoke and soot. Under this condition, the white-winged moth did not survive due to the predators. Dark-winged or the maligned moth survived. Before industrialization set in, thick growth of the almost white-colored lichen covered the tree. In that background, the white-winged moth survived, but the dark-colored moths were picked up by the predators. Do you know that lichens can be used as industrial pollution indicators? They will not grow in areas that are polluted. Hence, moths that were able to camouflage themselves, that means hide in the background, survived. This understanding is supported by the fact that in the areas where industrialization did not occur, that means in the rural areas, the count of the melanic moth was slow. This shows that in a mixed population, those that can better adapt survive and increase in the population size. Remember that no variant is completely wiped out. Similarly, excess use of the herbicide, pesticide, etc. has only resulted in the selection of the resistant varieties in a much lesser time scale. This is also true for the microbe against which we employ antibiotic or the drug against the eukaryotic organism as well. Hence, resistant organisms as well are appearing in a time, a scale of the month or the year and not century. These are the examples of the evolution by the anthropogenic action. This also tells us about evolution is not a directed process in the case of the determinism. It is a stochastic process based on the chance event in the nature and chance mutation in the organism. तो यहाँ पर दिखाया हुआ फिगर showing the white winged moth and the dark winged moth melanide on a tree trunk in unpolluted area में, और बी में है polluted area में दिखाया हुआ है. तो unpolluted area में जो है ब्लैक वाला छिप जाता है और वाइट वाला है जो दिख जाता है आसानी से. तो वाइट वाला को जो पिक कर लिया, उसके बाद फिर पॉल्यूटेड एरिया में है जो अनपॉल्यूटेड एरिया में है जो वाइट वाला है जो छिप जाता है और ये वाला आसानी से दिख जाता है, इसलिए इसको पिक कर लिया. और पॉल्यूटेड एरिया में है जो ये वाला आसानी से छिप जाता है और ये इजीली दिख जाता है, तो है जो वाइट वाले को पिक कर लिया. फिर आता है व्हाट इज द अडेप्टिव रेडिएशन. तो during his journey, Darwin went to the Galapagos Island. There he observed an amazing diversity of the creature. Of particular interest, a small black bird called Darwin finches amazed him. He realized that there were many varieties of the finches in the same island. All the varieties he conjectured evolved on the island itself from the original seed-eating feature. Many other forms with altered beaks arose, enabling them to become insectivorous and vegetarian finches. This process of evolution of the different species in a given geographical area, starting from a point and naturally radiating to the other areas of the geography habitat, is called adaptive radiation. Darwin finches represent one of the best examples of this phenomena. Another example is the Australian marsupials. A member of the marsupials, such each different from the other, evolved from an ancestral stock, but all within an Australian island continent. When more than one adaptive radiation appeared to have occurred in an isolated geographical area representing the different habitats, one can call this convergent evolution. Placental mammals in Australia also exhibit the adaptive radiation evolving into the variety of such placental mammals, each of which appear to be similar to a corresponding marsupial. Example, placental wolf and the Tasmanian wolf marsupial. तो यहाँ पर दिया हुआ है the variety of the beaks of the finches that Darwin found in the Galapagos Island में, और यहाँ पर ये दिया हुआ है adaptive radiation of the marsupial of ऑस्ट्रेलिया का दिया हुआ है. तो इसमें हो गया टैस्मेनियन वॉल्फ आ जाता है, टाइगर कैट, बैंडेड एंट ईटर और मॉर्फोपियल रैट आता है. फिर इधर आता है कंगारू, बॉम्बैट, मांडीकुट, कोयला, और फिर आता है मॉर्फोपियल मोल और शुगर ग्लाइडर. अब इधर है पिक्चर, इसमें दिया हुआ है पिक्चर showing the convergent evolution of the Australian marsupials and the placental mammals. तो इसमें उधर हो गया placental mammals, फिर आता है Australian marsupials. इधर मोल है, marsupial मोल, एंट ईटर, नमबैट, एंट ईटर, माउस, marsupial माउस, फिर lemur, spotted cuscus, flying squirrel, flying flanger, बॉब बैट, टस्मानियन टाइगर कैट और बुल्फ, और इधर आता है टस्मानियन बुल्फ आता है. फिर आता है बायोलॉजिकल इवोल्यूशन. तो कहता है कि इवोल्यूशन बाय नेचुरल सिलेक्शन इज ए ट्रू सेंस वुड हैव स्टार्टेड व्हेन द सेलुलर फॉर्म्स ऑफ लाइफ विद डिफरेंस इन द मेटाबॉलिक कैपेबिलिटी ओरिजिनेटेड ऑन द अर्थ. The essence of the Darwinian theory about evolution is natural selection. The rate of the appearance of the new form is linked to the life cycle of the life of man. Microbes that divide fast have the ability to multiply and become millions of individuals within the hours. A colony of the bacteria, say A, growing on a given medium has built-in variation in terms of the ability to utilize a feed component. A change in the medium composition would bring about only that part of the population, say B, that can survive under the new condition. In due course of time, this variant population outgrow the other and appear as a new species. This would happen within days. For the same thing to happen in a fish or the fall would take millions of years, as the lifespan of these animals are in years. Here we say that the fitness of B is better than that of the A under the new condition. Nature selects for the fitness. One must remember that the so-called fitness is based on the characteristics which are inherited. Hence, there must be a genetic basis for getting the selected and to evolve. Another way of saying the same thing that is the some organisms are better adapted to survive in an otherwise hostile environment. Adaptive ability is inherited. It has a genetic basis. Fitness is the end result of the ability to adapt and get selected by the nature. फिर कहता है branching, descent and the natural selection are the two key concepts of Darwinian theory of the evolution. Even before the Darwin, a French naturalist Lamarck had said that evolution of life forms had occurred but driven by the use and the disuse of the organ. He gave the examples of the giraffe who, in an attempt to forage leaves on tall trees, had to adapt by the elongation of their neck. As they passed on this acquired character of elongated neck to the succeeding generation. Giraffes slowly over the years came to acquire long necks. Nobody believed this conjecture anymore. Is evolution a process or the result of the process? The world we see, inanimate and the animate, is the only story, success story of the evolution. When we describe the story of this world, we describe evolution as a process. On the other hand, when we describe the story of the life on the earth, we treat the evolution as a consequence of a process called a natural selection. We are still not very clear whether to regard evolution and natural selection as a process or in results of the unknown processes. It is possible that the work of the Thomas Malthus on the population influenced Darwin. Natural selection is based on the certain observations which are factual. For example, nature resources are limited. A population are stable in the size except for the seasonal fluctuation. Members of the population vary in the characteristic. In fact, no two individuals are alike, even though they took superficially similar. Most of the variation are inherited, etc. The fact that theoretically population size will grow exponentially if everybody reproduced maximally, this fact can be seen in a growing bacterial population, and the fact that population size is reality are limited means that there had been competition for the resources. One only some survived and grew at the cost of the other that could not flourish. The novelty and the brilliant insight of the Darwin by this he asserted that variation which are heritable and which make the resources utilization better for a few. Adapted to the habitat better will enable only those to reproduce and live more progeny. Hence, for a period of the time, over many generations, survivors will leave more progeny, and there would be a change in the population characteristic, and hence new form appear to arise. फिर कहता है mechanism of the evolution, तो कहता है what is the origin of this variation and how does speciation occur. Even though the Mendel had talked of the inheritable factors influencing phenotype, Darwin either ignored these observations or kept silence. In the first decade of the 20th century, Hugo de Verage, on his work on the evening primrose, brought forth the idea of the mutation, large difference rising suddenly in the population. He believed that it is the mutation which causes evolution and not the minor variation heritable that Darwin talked about. Mutations are the random and directionless, while the Darwinian variations are small and directional. Evolution for the Darwin by gradual but deep ridge believed mutation causes speciation and hence called it saltation, single step large mutation. A study in the population genetics later brought out some clarity. तो अब आता है हार्डी बेंगल प्रिंसिपल, तो इसमें कहता है कि इन गिवन पॉपुलेशन वन कैन फाइंड आउट द फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ द ऑकरेंस ऑफ द alleles of a gene or a locus. This frequency is supposed to remain fixed and even remain the same through the generation. Hardy-Bringer principle stated it using the algebraic equation. This principle said that allele frequency in a population are stable and is constant from generation to generation. The gene pool, total gene and their allele in a population remain constant. This is called the genetic equilibrium. Sum total of all the allele frequency is 1. Individual Individual frequency, for example, can be named P, Q, etc. In a diploid, P and Q represent the frequency of the allele A and the allele of small a. The frequency of the capital A individuals in a population is simply P square. This is simply stated in another way. That means the probability that an allele A with frequency of the P appear on both the chromosome of a diploid individual is simply the product of the probability. That means the P square. Similarly, of the AA is the Q square of the a and the small a is the 2pq, hence p square plus 2pq plus q square is equal to 1. This way binomial expansion of the p plus q square when frequency measured differs from the expected value. That means difference direction indicates the extent of the evolutionary change. Disturbances in the genetic equilibrium or the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, that means the change of the frequency of the allele in the population, would then be interpreted as resulting in the evolution. 5 factors are known to affect the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. These are the gene migration or the gene flow, genetic drift, mutation, genetic recombination, and the natural selection. When migration of a section of the population to another place and population occurs, gene frequency change in the original as well as in the new population. New gene alleles are added to the original population and those are lost from the old population. There would be a gene flow if this gene migration happens multiple times. If the same change occurs by chance, it is called a genetic drift. Sometimes the change in the allele frequency is so different in the new sample of the population that they become a different species. The original different population becomes founders and the effect is called the founder effect. Microbial experiments show that a pre-existing advantageous mutation when selected will result in the observation of the new phenotype. Over few generations, this would result in the speciation. Natural selection is a process in which the heritable variation enabling better survival are enabled to reproduce and live greater number of the progeny. A critical analysis makes us believe that the variation due to the mutation or variation due to the recombination during the gametogenesis or due to the gene flow or genetic drift result in the changed frequency of the gene and alleles in the future generation. Coupled to the enhanced reproductive success, nature's selection make it look like the different population. Natural selection can lead to the stabilization in which more individuals acquire mean character value. The external changes more individuals acquire the value other than the mean character value or the disruption. That means the more individuals acquire peripheral character value at the both ends of the distribution curve. तो यहाँ पर दिया हुआ है the diagrammatic representation of the operation of the natural selection on the different traits of stabilizing, directional and the disruptive. तो ये दिए हुए है स्टेबलाइजिंग, ये दिए हुआ है डायरेक्शनल पिक शिफ्ट इन द वन डायरेक्शनल और ये हो गया डिसरप्टिव. इसमें टू पिक्स फॉर्म हो गए. फिनोटाइप फेवरेट बाय द नेचुरल सिलेक्शन, मीडियम साइज इंडिविजुअल्स आर फेवरेट. ये नंबर ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स विद द फिनोटाइप है जो वाई एक्सिस पर दिखाए हुए हैं. फिर आता है ब्रीफ अकाउंट ऑफ द इवोल्यूशन. तो कहता है अबाउट 200 million years ago the first cellular form of the life appeared on the earth. The mechanism of how non-cellular aggregates of the giant macromolecule could evolve into cells with membranous envelope is not known. Some of these cells had the ability to release O2. The reaction could have better been similar to the light reaction in the photosynthesis, where water is split with the help of the solar energy captured and channeled by the appropriate light harvesting pigments. Slowly, single-celled organisms become multicellular life forms. By the time of the 500 million years ago, invertebrates were formed and active. Jawless fish probably evolved around 350 million years ago. Sea beads and the few plants existed probably around 320 million years ago. We are told that the first organisms that invaded land were plants. They were widespread on the land when animals invaded land. Fish with a stout and strong fins could move on land and go back to the water. This was about 350 million years ago. In 1938, fish caught in the South Africa happened to be a coelacanth which was thought to be extinct. These animals, called the lobe fins, evolved into the first amphibians that lived in both on the land and the water. There are no specimens of these left with us. However, they were ancestors of the modern day frogs and the salamanders. The amphibians evolved into the reptiles. They lay thick-celled eggs which do not dry up in the sun, unlike those of the amphibians. Again, we only see their modern day descendants, the turtles, tortoise, and the crocodiles. In the next 200 million years or so, reptiles of the different shape and the sizes dominated on the earth. Giant fern pteridophytes were present, but they all failed to form a coal deposit slowly. Some of the land reptiles went back into the water to evolve into the fish-like reptiles probably 200 million years ago, just ichthyosaurus. The land reptiles were, of course, the dinosaurs. The biggest of them, the Tyrannosaurus rex, was about 20 feet in the height and had huge fearsome dagger like the teeth. About 55 million years ago, the dinosaurs suddenly disappeared from the earth. We do not know the true reason. Some say climatic changes killed them. Some say most of them evolved into birds. The truth may live in between. Small-sized reptiles of that era still exist today. Because the first mammals were like shrew. Their fossils are small-sized. Mammals were viviparous and protected their unborn young inside the mother's body. Mammals were not more intelligent. Mammals were more intelligent in sensing and avoiding the dangers. At least when reptiles came down, mammals took over this earth. They were in the South America mammals resembling horse, hippopotamus, bear, rabbit, etc. Due to the continental drift, when the South America joined North America, these animals were overridden by the North American fauna. Due to the same continental drift, poached mammals of Australia survived because of the lack of the competition from any other mammals. Lest we forget, some mammals lie wholly in the water. Whales, dolphins, seals, and the peacock are some examples. Evolution of the horse, elephant, dog, etc. are special stories of evolution. You will learn about these in the higher classes. The most successful story is the evolution of the man with language skill and self-consciousness. A rough sketch of the evolution of the life forms, their times on the geological scale are indicated. यहाँ पर दिया हुआ है एक पिक्चर है जिसमें दिया हुआ है स्केच ऑफ द इवोल्यूशन ऑफ द प्लांट फॉर्म्स थ्रू द जियोलॉजिकल पीरियड, जिसमें है सी टी राम प्रसाद यानी कि क्लोरोफाइटी, फिर ट्रैकोफाइटी, रेनिया टाइप और फैलोफाइटन, सिटी राम प्रसाद। उसके बाद फिर आता है, अब फैलोफाइटन से बन गया जिनेटेल्स, और फिर इधर प्रोजिम्नोस्पर्म आता है, फिर सीड फंस आता है, सीड फंस से साइकट्स बनता है, और इधर भी बन जाते हैं डाइकॉट्स बनते हैं। डाइकॉट्स में एंजियो आता है और मोनोकॉट्स आ जाते हैं, फ्लावरिंग प्लांट्स भी बन जाते हैं। फिर इधर फैलोफाइटन से बनते हैं कॉनिफर, फैलोफाइटन से बनते हैं गिंको, फंस, स्पेनोप्सिडा, हॉर्सटेल, हर्बिसियस, लाइकोपोड्स बनता है। और है जो बीच में से बनता है जोस्टेरा फाइलम, और फिर आता है आर्बियो रिसेंट लाइकोपोड्स, और फिर इधर यहाँ से निकलता है क्लोरोफाइटी के बाद से निकलता है ब्राओफाइटी, इधर निकल जाता है। पीरियड कुछ इस तरफ है, पहले पैलियोजेइक आता है, फिर मिजोजेइक आता है, फिर फिनोजेइक आता है। पैलियोजेइक में आता है फ्लोरियन, डेवोनियन, कार्बोनिफेरस। मिजोजेइक में आता है परमियन, ट्रायसिक, जुरासिक, क्रीटेशियस, और फिर फिनोजेइक में आता है टर्सरी और क्वाटरनरी। तो इस तरह से पीरियड और इपॉक्स में है जो डिवाइडेड है। फिर आता है इधर यहाँ पर दिया हुआ है रिप्रेजेंटेटिव इवोल्यूशनरी हिस्ट्री ऑफ द वर्टेब्रेट थ्रू द जियोलॉजिकल पीरियड्स। तो यहाँ पर ये है अर्ली रेप्टाइल्स जो कि एक्सटिंक्ट हो गया, इससे बना साइनेप्सिड, और साइनेप्सिड से खाली बना है मैमल्स। फिर फोरेप्सिड से ही सारे चीज़ बन गए हैं, टर्टल्स बना, लिजार्ड्स बना, स्नेक्स, फिर टोटोरा और क्रोकोडाइल बना है। उसके बाद फिर बर्ड्स बन गए। फिर फोरेप्सिड से ही ट्रिकोडॉन्स बना जो कि एक्सटिंक्ट हो गया, थेराप्सिड्स बना, और फिर बन गया है डायनासोर जो कि एक्सटिंक्ट हो गया। फाइनेप्सिड से है पिलोकोफोरस बना था, और पिलोकोफोरस से फिर मैमल्स बना था, सब के सब एक्सटिंक्ट हो गया। एज उसी तरह से है, कार्बोनिफेरस, परमियन, फिर ट्रायसिक, जुरासिक, क्रीटेशियस। तो ऐसा आता है कि कार्बोनिफेरस आता है, और पहले कार्बोनिफेरस तो मतलब अलग में आता है। कार्बोनिफेरस और जो परमियन है अलग अलग चीज़ें हैं, अलग अलग चीज़ में इसको डिवाइड करते हैं कार्बोनिफेरस और परमियन को। तो पहले हम लेते हैं सिर्फ कार्बोनिफेरस लेते हैं, यहाँ सिर्फ कार्बोनिफेरस लेते हैं, फिर परमियन, ट्रायसिक, जुरासिक, क्रीटेशियस, और फिर टर्फरी और क्वाटरनरी, इस तरफ से आता है। ये है मिजोइक, और ये इधर नीचे वाला है जो पैलियोजोइक है, और ऊपर वाला जो है वो है फिनोजोइक है। फिर आता है ऑरिजिन एंड द इवोल्यूशन ऑफ द मैन। तो एनसीईआरटी कहता है कि अबाउट 15 million years ago, primates called the Dryopithecus and the Ramapithecus were existing. They were hairy and bulky like gorilla and chimpanzee. Ramapithecus was more man-like, while the Dryopithecus was more ape-like. Few fossils of the man-like bones have been discovered in the Ethiopia and the Tanzania. These revealed hominid future, leading to the belief that about 3-4 million years ago, man-like primates walked in the eastern Africa. They were probably not taller than the 4 feet but walked upright. 2 million years ago, Australopithecus probably lived in the East African grassland. Evidence shows that they hunted with stone weapons but essentially ate fruit. Some of the bones among the bones discovered were different. This creature was called the first human-like beings, the hominid, and was born called the hominid Homo habilis. The brain capacity were between 650 से 800 cranial capacity. They probably did not eat meat. Fossil discovered in the Java in the 1991 revealed the next stage Homo erectus about 1.5 million years ago. Homo erectus had a large brain about 900 cc. Homo erectus probably ate meat. The Neanderthal man with a brain size of 1400 cc lived in Near East and the Central Asia between 1 lakh से 40,000 years back. They used the hides to protect their body and buried their dead. Homo sapiens arose in Africa and moved across the continents and developed into distinct races. During Ice Age between 75,000 से 10,000 years ago, modern Homo sapiens arose. Prehistoric cave art developed about 18,000 years ago. One such cave paintings by the prehistoric humans can be seen at the Bhimbetka rock filter in the Raisen district of the Madhya Pradesh. Agriculture came around 10,000 years back and human settlement started. The rest of the what happened is the part of the human history of the growth and the decline of the civilization. तो यहाँ पर दिया हुआ है comparison of the skull of the adult modern chimpanzee and the adult human, adult chimpanzee and the adult baby chimpanzee and the adult chimpanzee. The skull of the baby chimpanzee is more likely the adult human skull than the adult chimpanzee skull. यानी बेबी वाला है जो adult human से ज़्यादा मिलता है. फिर समरी में एनसीईआरटी कहता है कि The origin of the life on the Earth can be understood only against the background of the origin of the universe, especially Earth. Most scientists believed chemical evolution, that means formation of the biomolecules, preceded the appearance of the first cellular forms of the life. The subsequent events as to what happened to the first form of life is a conjectured story based on the Darwinian idea of the organic evolution by the natural selection. The diversity of the life forms on the Earth has been changing over millions of the years. It is generally believed that variation in the population results in the variable fitness. Other phenomena like the habitat fragmentation and the genetic drift may accentuate these variations, leading to the appearance of the new species and hence evolution. Homology is accounted for by the idea of the branching different study of the comparative anatomy, fossils, and comparative biochemistry provide evidence for the evolution. Among the stories of the evolution of the individual species, the story of the evolution of the modern man is most interesting and appears to parallel to evolution of the human brain and the language. तो ये हो गया एनसीईआरटी समरी हो गया इसका, इवोल्यूशन का एनसीईआरटी हो गया ये।